Hey, I'm Matt Hutchins and he's Dave Mulvaney, and this is Profitability MD. Dave, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing great, Matt. How about you?
I am doing great. Episode 163, three must-haves for success in any business. We talk about the four pillars about building your wealth, have a business, use that business, generate excess income, which supports your lifestyle, but then does pillar two, your real estate, usually revenue producing real estate. Use it to start a retirement plan and use it to build a wealth accumulation account, which would be an investment account. The investments could generate other cash flows by investing in business or real estate or stocks and bonds. That's kind of, so today we're going to talk about, last week we talked about the real estate pillar. Today we're going to talk about the business pillar itself, right? You got to have a business that generates excess cash flow that funds your lifestyle and has extra cash in order to build your wealth. So we would say three must-haves for success in any business. You want to go with your three and we talk about them? Do you want to?
Yeah, well, we will. So this happened in a conversation. That's how this came about. Is somebody, really said to me, "What do I think are three must-haves?" And so it's funny. It's all built around sales. So you've got to have sales. Let's just put it that way. So if you don't have sales in business, you're not in business. You have a hobby. So the first must have it is lead generation. You got to have a way of bringing people in the door. And you talk about, all the time, your $1 million message. I talk about that as well. Lead generation is an ongoing, constant tweaking thing. And so this can mean you're running ads, you're spending money on billboards, it doesn't matter, commercials, all sorts of things. That's lead generation. And there is a million ways to generate leads. But if there's one thing about lead generation that works today, it won't last forever. And so this is I'm going to use Russell Brunson as an example. He talked about how when Facebook came out, like you could run Facebook ads like for really cheap.
Right.
And all of a sudden they were making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars a month. And then Facebook changed their algorithm overnight. And all of a sudden their business changed overnight. It was, so this is, Russell Brunson's, the thing about it was, well, that's why he created the funnels, because he realized that I needed other ways to put traffic into these funnels. And that's what we're talking about, is lead generation. It is an ongoing process in business, but without it, without advertising, without lead generation, you're stuck. What do you have to
Yeah, no, I like that. So we've talked about it before. You got to have leads, and then you got to be able to convert those leads, and you got to have increased number of transactions. Remember the 5 profit formula, right? Leads, conversions, transactions, pricing, and profits. So in leads, we talked about the fundamentals to generate leads. Exactly what you mentioned earlier. You got to have your target audience. Who are we going after? You got to have your $1 million message. Why do people do business with you? And you got to have your irresistible offer. So I would say leads is, you got to have leads. You got to have the fundamentals to generate the leads, which is target audience, $1 million message, basically why they do business with you, and what's your irresistible offer. Let's get them in the door to, try it before you buy it. Money back guarantees. You gotta get them in there. So yes, totally agree with leads. And so leads is the number one thing you need. By the way, this reminds me of the paralysis from analysis paralysis, right? Where I've got a friend of mine who's talking about starting a new business, and I got to have a website, I got to have a logo, I got to have this and that, and you and I both know people who have had $200,000-$300,000 worth of sales without a logo, without a website, right? Because they just got to it. They did leads, they converted, they got sales, right?
Yeah.
Which I just, but.
Well, no, that's okay, because what you laid out was that in the 5-step process is you got to have the leads, but then you got to have a follow-up system for those leads.
Yes.
And that's part of the system and the process. So the follow-up system can often be, ultimately, like I said, first, you got to have sales if you're going to be in business. And like you said earlier, you got to be profitable. Sales is not enough. You got to be profitable. Right. We can talk about, but you got to be closing sales. So the follow-up system that brings those, that's where the conversions come in, because it's very rare. A lot of people say, well, I'm not a salesperson. Okay. Well, everybody is a salesperson if you're in business. You better be.
Well, let me go back. Everybody's a salesperson. My daughter, I have two daughters selling me on where they're going for spring break and how much it'll cost, right? You got kids. They're natural born salespeople. They're going to convince you this is why I have to go here on spring break. I got to go to Paris on spring break, and here's why, right? They're a salesperson. They're selling me on why they got to go to Paris. They're selling me on why they got to go to the beach. They're selling you why they need a higher allowance, why they need a new pair of shoes. We're all salespeople.
And it's funny you say, okay, you got a daughter selling you on why she should go to Paris, and I'd be selling her on why she should watch the movie Taken 2.
That's exactly right. This is the first thing out of my mouth, Dave. That was the first thing. Have you seen the movie Taken?
I know.
Taken 2 or Taken 3? Have you seen any of those?
So see, you were selling back because you had a message that you wanted to get across, but you felt that somebody else delivered the message better. So, which came through a movie. But see, that's the thing. So yes, every conversation, there is some type of sale going on in most cases, because we are geared to that. Like if you want somebody to see a movie, you're like, hey, I just saw this movie. It's so awesome. You got to check it out. Why? So we can have something we can talk about when we're together, right? I mean, that's why, people talk about movies, books, all the things. But so, generating leads is great, but not all the leads are going to be ready today. And that's why a follow-up is so important. And, there are systems and processes that can be built out on, but we're not really going to focus on that today. We're just talking about, you have to follow up. If like you're growing your business, that means like, if you're going to build a sales force. Now, of course, we're not talking about typically one person businesses, solopreneurs. It can be. I mean, we focus on $1 million business or more, and that usually requires other people. But the follow-up is where, like, I'm awful at follow-up, always have been, but I've always been really good in sales. So what I started doing is I would bring in salespeople that were really good at follow-up.
Right.
And so I would go with them on the first appointment, and then they would reschedule all of the future appointments. And then I would typically go on one if I felt it was a closing appointment. And so they would see kind of my ability to sell and my ability to close. And then they would, with their good follow-up, they would be. So when I was looking for candidates for salespeople, I was always looking for the candidates with great follow-up.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, complement your strength. Yeah.
If you've got the great message, in the lead generation side, and you can close because your offer is the thing that makes people say, I need this. It's going to transform my life. It's going to make my life better. So I need this. Then the only thing missing there is the follow-up. And if you're bad at it, get somebody who's good at it, because you can teach them the two things. All you're doing is searching for you don't have to sell. You search for the right person to insert into the equation, right? I mean,
no, and that's a great point. So this reminds me of I forget what they call the purchaser pyramid or something like that. Chet Holmes talks about it. Dean Jackson talks about it. That whatever your business, we come back to, again, I'll use landscaping because I'm just looking out my window, right? That only 3% of people are ready to buy today, right? But the other 97% would buy in the future. Right. So that they might get mad at their landscaper. They might be doing it themselves and choose not to do it themselves because they hurt their back, because it's springtime and they want to play golf. Right. So that's where the importance of the follow-up is. They might not have been only 3% of the people, you go to 100 homes, only 3 of them are ready to change today. The other 97 homes that you knocked on the door for your landscaping business, not ready today, but might be ready in the next 12 months, 18 months. And that's what you're saying your follow-up comes in, because you don't know. Again, I'll give you reasons why, right? It might be they were doing it themselves and now they changed their mind. It might be that they got divorced and now there's only one spouse. So that there are a multitude of reasons of why they weren't ready when you first talked to them, but they are ready 12 months from now. And that's the importance of the follow-up is you don't know where they are in their cycle. You don't know if they're 3% of, well, we know they're not 3% of buyers now because they would have said yes when you knocked on their door, but you got to have the follow-up system to hit them when they're ready, right? You do business with people like, and trust, but also the last person you saw, right? It's
because they're fresh on your mind, right?
Yeah, fresh impressions, right? And that's why people do newsletters. That's why people do emails. That's why they do drip email sequences. We weren't going to get to the technicalities of all that, but I'm just throwing out ideas of that. But the other thing that reminds me of follow-up is we talk about this all the time when I work with my dental clients. I have a lot of dentists as my clients, and their quickest way to money is, and same thing, financial advisors, probably even your landscapers, right? It's somebody that expressed an interest in the past, but didn't do business with you for some reason or the other, right? I think Dean Jackson has a stat that if I inquired about your landscaping services, but I didn't hire you, there's like an 85% chance that I'm going to hire a landscaper in the next 18 months. It's something like that. It's a huge number that I wouldn't have asked if I wasn't interested, right? If you went to a dentist to take a look at fixing your mouth, whatever, you got some teeth that are out of whack and you want to do implants, odds are you're going to do implants sometime in the next year and a half, right? Yeah. And so you've got to have the follow-up system. If you've identified yourself, as Dean Jackson says, you've raised your hand, they raised their hand. That's why we need to follow up with them, is they may not be ready to buy today. They might not have the time, the money, they got busy, they forgot about it, right? I was talking about somebody, you and I have this before, right? The follow-up, it takes somewhere between 8 to 12 follow-ups to close a sale, right? And most people give up after 1 or 2 calls, right? And what happens is, it could be that I'm not ignoring you. It could be I get 450 emails a day.
Yeah.
Your email you sent me last week, I didn't even see, right? Between the 7 days at 450, that's, 2,200 emails I've seen. So I might have missed yours. That's 4,000 emails in a 2-week period, and yours was just one of them. So instead of getting our feeling hurt, wah, 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 call the wambulance. It's the follow-up of, hey, they just might have missed it. They just might have gotten busy. They might have meant to call you back, and whatever, spring break happened. Right.
Yeah, my friend Max, great salesperson. He's been in the car business forever, but he was a salesperson for one of my companies. And one of the things Max always says is, look, what you're not competing against is other companies that are in your business. You're competing against the stack of papers that's on that owner's desk. You're competing against all of the other people or begging for their time. And so your follow-up system is the thing that keeps you on the top of that stack, or on the top of mind. And it's funny, you mentioned landscaper earlier. So I look at every week, I look at businesses for sale in the state of Florida.
Okay.
And almost inevitably, I always see some landscapers that are for sale, and they're about $200,000 a year businesses. But there's always a couple of landscapers that are, they do $3-4 million a year in business. What's the difference? The difference is the follow-up system, because they both had the opportunities, but you got the one that builds this company. And what is that all about? It's about the 95 people that a week that maybe reached out to them, and those people didn't buy right away, but they kept going after them. They never stopped going after them. And it's the, that's the follow-up system. That's the thing that brings the big businesses. I mean, the big businesses, the thought of not having every single customer. I mean, how often do you see a Budweiser ad on TV? I mean,
right.
Do you think they don't
car commercials? How often do you see a car commercial? Every commercial.
Yeah.
Every set of commercials.
And so that it never stops. They are going, their follow-up system, though, once you're in the door, with a car, it's tough, because they know if we don't get you this time, it's going to be 4 to 6 years before you buy another car. For most people,
for most people,
3 to 5. They want it to go faster, but if they don't get you this time around, so how are they going to get you back in the door? Well, the salesperson. Well, I'll give you an example. So I've bought 3 new Lexuses, brand new, and so I just ordered a new one for my wife. And what did they do? The car isn't even here yet. And they sent me tickets to TPC, and good tickets, all food and drinks included. And that was on them. Why? That's their follow-up system to make sure when I go to get my next car, if you go into their service department, they don't have the thought of me ever not having a Lexus to them as foreign. Right. But it's all in their follow-up system. It's, their service department is their follow-up system. They're, you see what I'm getting at is we look at, you've got to have the 3 things: lead generation, follow-up, and sales. Closing, so you got to close the sale.
Close the sales, yeah.
But there's this system that goes on after the sale is closed that brings in more sales, and it all boils down to follow-up. I think if there's one thing that like I said, I'm bad at, but I also realize is the most important thing is probably follow up.
Well, that's really, this reminds me of, I've had, I answered this question differently before. So right now we're saying leads, follow up, and sales, or closing the sale,
Closing sales,
which we totally agree with. A different version of that is attract, deliver, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Right. So attract is the leads and the, $1 million message, irresistible offer, your target. That's the attract part. That's the leads. The deliver, we got to deliver. You got to be good at mowing the lawn or fixing teeth, at selling cars or quality cars. And then I say rinse and repeat, which is all about the follow-up, which is the follow-up from the leads. It's almost the same system, right? Because now that they've sold you the Lexus, you're in their database. We're going to follow up with you because we know Dave buys a new car every 3 to 5 years. So their follow-up system they had to get you in the door for the initial sale can be the same or similar follow-up to keep you in their circle when the next 3 to 5 years comes up. Or it might be sooner, or it might be sooner than that because you bought a wife car, she needs a car every 3 to 5 years, but you have a 3 to 5 year and they might not be the same cycle. So I got to keep you. So it's almost the same follow-up is as important in that existing clients, keep it in front of them. Why? Because they'll buy again. That's the number 3, increased number of transactions from existing clients. That's also referrals from existing clients. If I keep you in my little pipeline, you might refer a friend of what a great experience it was for you to buy your Lexus. It's a great car. The service is great. The quality of the car is great. The buying experience is great. And Lexus is top of mind because you're in their follow-up process, even though they already sold you the car.
Yeah, and it's what's interesting about this is as we're talking, I'm thinking of all the great companies. Now we just said Lexus great at this, but Apple. So I think of Apple as a company, and they opened these Apple stores, and like everybody thought it was all about selling more product. They could have done that online. They were doing just fine selling online and through vendors like AT&T and all that, and Verizon and all their other vendors, but they opened the stores. So if you had a problem, you had a place where you could go and actually get service. Now, this is the follow-up system. I mean, they weren't just putting stores in they were putting this follow-up system in place, which of course allowed people to get access to repairs. Again, the rinse and repeat, it's so easy to say rinse and repeat, but when you think of the experience, part of the experience is the follow-up. And it's not just, hey, do you want to buy more? It's, hey, how could I make the last thing you purchased a better experience? What could I do to tweak that? Even things, it still amazes me. I got what do you call a virtual headset thing?
Yeah.
And it's owned by, it's the Quest or Oculus Quest.
Oculus, yeah.
And, but the packaging, I swear it was like opening an Apple product. How right. If you've ever opened an Apple product, all the packaging is specifically laid out. It's really cool. Everything about it. That's part of follow-up. And I think we probably don't stress follow-up enough. And I've certainly on this show, we haven't. But when you're building a business, this is how to build the first pillar. It
totally is. I'll even go back to say, you've already got an existing, and I did this for a therapist. A therapist is one of my clients. This was back between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? And so, hey, let's have a goal of getting you 5 new clients in the next 4 weeks, right? And so where did I go to? The quickest thing to do is that leads, somebody that has expressed interest in your services, therapist, that didn't sign up or has fallen out, right? Who used to see you and now they don't, right? And so she's got a list of people, right, that had either been patients or no longer patients or had inquired about one thing or another, been to a workshop or something. And so there's your leads, right? We're reusing old leads, and we are going, and now we got our irresistible offer. Hey, the holidays are a stressful time, right? So we put together this whole little, you're the great copywriter, but the gist of it was, holidays are a stressful time and it might cause things, anxiety was her specialty, right? So might be anxious or anxiety with the holidays and relatives and families and friends and all that. If so, and then the offer was, I've opened up 5 spots, so a limited 5 spots. So there was a combination. What did we do? We did the leads. We already had the leads, people that have expressed interest in our services in the last 2 years, right? The offer was, well, the reason for the offer was the holidays, the stress of the holidays. If you find yourself on edge, and the offer was, I've got 5 open sessions in a limited period of time that we'd love. And well, we filled it up in the first week. She was hoping to get 5 clients by Christmas. She got 5 new clients in the week. So what do? We did it every week for
Well,
4
and
weeks, and we got 20 new clients.
that's such low hanging fruit. And so what normally happens is people just, oh, they didn't buy, so they don't want. Well,
That's right.
The reality is you can't predict the timing of when somebody's going to be ready for your services, especially in that. I mean, you're a therapist. Okay. So when is somebody going to need some help? Might not be on your time frame. I mean, so that is well, for instance, I was thinking about it, like if you were a teenage therapist, like you had like a whole bunch of, well, wouldn't it make sense to, like, when those people become adults, to actually reach out to them and say, hey, if you need help, I have this history with you. I can, that could be part of
well, it could be transition from high school to college, transition from summer back to school, transfer. So any businesses that, you and I talk about this once before, we've seen like a calendar that every month there's a reason. It's, appreciate your dog month, right? That every month you could have a reason for a sale, but it's nice to have a reason to reach out to you. Financial advisors right now, it's a turbulent time in the markets, right? So it might be somebody that was a prospect that didn't sign up with you as a financial advisor. It might have been somebody who left you years ago, right? You could reach back out to those people and say, has your situation changed? Are you nervous about the market? Are you getting good service from your existing advisor, right? Because in that world, it's not performance why people change, it's lack of communication or lack of handholding, for lack of a better term. So volatile times is a great time for a financial advisor to gain clients, because the scared financial advisor isn't calling his or her clients, right?
Okay, and here's a good example. If you're the scared financial advisor right now, and you're watching this, then I highly recommend you get on the phone and you call your scared clients. And then you got to use your experience and say, hey, look, historically, we've had these problems since World War I.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I mean, historically,
put it in perspective. That's right.
Yeah, this is what happens. And so what you're doing is you're following up so that you don't lose clients in this time, which will mean more business down the road. I think this is what happens in our fears of being told no or losing a client. These are follow-up, I think, or lack thereof is based in fear. You're afraid you're going to be told no. You're afraid maybe that.
I think that's a great point. Absolutely. You're afraid they're going to say you don't like. I have a strategy with one of my teaching techniques, coaching techniques, is exactly that. You reach out to your top 20 clients, your existing clients, because I always believe in getting more business from existing clients. That's low hanging fruit. I believe in getting referrals from solid clients, right? So I always go in and say, ask your top 20 clients, what's working. Hey, Dave, tell us how we're doing good for you, and then you say, well, Dave, you got any ideas how we can improve our service, and make sure you're getting what you want. Any ideas? And then the third question is, you got any other projects you need help with, right? Whether I do it or not, I might know somebody that does it. Or the idea being, as I buttered you up, tell me something good. Oh, I love the way you guys always respond. Your deliveries are always on time, your quality work, whatever. Number 2, ideas for improvement. Well, it's going to be a little gentler because they have you in a positive light already. And then now as you're asking for more business, right? Any other projects you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Do you want some help implementing that?
Yeah.
Right. So it's and that really goes back. I'm jumping around. I'm sorry. Leads, follow up, and closing the sale. Like we said, everybody is a salesman, whether you think you are or not, right? I told you my girls are salesmen when they're talking about going to Paris, when they're talking about buying a new pair of shoes. So in a fun way, you got to think of yourself. Everybody is a salesperson, right? But one of the best and easiest closes, we could do a whole thing on different closes, which is just a non is, would you like help with that? Would you like help implementing that? Would you like help doing that? Would you like advice, help installing that, right? Then it's not a close, can I do that? It's, would you like help? Would you like help doing that? Would you like to buy that car, Mr. Mulvaney?
Yeah. And would you, I mean, we say it at the end of every episode, would you like to add 50, 70, or even $100,000 to your bottom line without adding more people, without advertising more, and that's what we can do. Would you like help with that? And if
that's the close, yeah,
that's the result that we're very confident. Now, when we say that, we know that you have to be an established business that is in growth mode, but the point being is that's our target audience is people who are trying to grow the business. That's why we had this discussion today, because if you're not hitting the sales numbers, if you're not closing sales, like you're the landscape company that's stuck at 500,000 a year, it's because your follow-up is not there. Now, we said there's, 3 must-haves to have success in business. You got to have the lead generation. Well, if you have that, you're doing 500,000 a year in business. Why aren't you over the million mark? It's because you're not following up with those who inquired about you in the past or inquired from you in the past. And it may be because you don't have a follow-up system, but these are things we discuss in our mastermind. Okay. So, these are the important things: lead generation, follow-up, and closing sales, rinse and repeat, right? Yeah. But the rinse and repeat is a system of how do I rinse and repeat? How do I get back? I'm so busy. How do I do that? Well, those are the things that we kind of work together to say, this is the things we can help you set up so that you can be like Matt and play golf whenever you want. And
exactly. Okay.
I know, not exactly, but you do have if there's anyone who's built a self-managing company, the way that anybody in your business would want to do it, it's you. You have an ideal business the way it's set up. And that's why we do this show, is because who wouldn't want to have a business that would allow them time freedom, location freedom, and money freedom? I mean,
absolutely.
If you can have those three, why wouldn't you?
Well, and that's what I'm talking about. So, we believe your business isn't just a job. Your business should generate excess cash flow to fund the 4 billers and use your business to build wealth, right? So your business generates enough money to pay your bills. Absolutely. That's what 95% of business owners do. But your business is your best tool and your best opportunity to build wealth. How do you do that? You got to generate excess sales, leads, follow-up, closing the sales. Once you have that generates extra profit. That extra profit funds your lifestyle, but then it allows you maybe to buy an office building of somebody else's that'll rent from you. That allows you to start a retirement plan, which allows you to build your wealth tax deferred. It allows you to have other tax to start your wealth accumulation account. So you're now saving money that you have in reserves in case you need it for your business. You can use it to buy other businesses. You can use it to buy other real estate or cash flow producing properties or stocks and bonds. Your business is an excellent tool to build your wealth. Most business owners have a job, right? We are here to tell you that any business owner can generate wealth, build wealth by using the 4 pillars strategy. That's what we do in our group coaching program, where we're surround you with other smart business owners who have done that are using their business to generate wealth. That's Matt at profitabilitymd.com, Dave at profitabilitymd.com if you're interested in our group coaching program. This podcast available where you do your podcasts, or we got our YouTube channel over at YouTube, and you go Profitability MD, and we got our website, profitabilitymd.com. Our irresistible offer: we can find any business owner $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 without spending $1 more on advertising or marketing. That's called our profit acceleration session. You can do that. We can find it for you. And then our close is, would you like help implementing that? Right? Would you like help realizing those gains? I showed you where they were. Now, would you want help realizing? That's a profit acceleration session. If you want one of those, read it out to Matt or Dave at profitabilitymd.com. Good stuff, man. I love this stuff. This is good. This was our pillar 1. We were talking about business. It's been a while since we talked about growing the business and creating excess revenue. So, well, it's 3 must-haves: leads, follow-up, and closing the sale.
That's awesome. All right, Matt. Have a great afternoon.
Good stuff, buddy.
Take care.